Welcome to your channel, Dr. Gazavi. Economics and financial issues are very important. Let's go.
Crypto users, in most countries and cases, do none of the above. For example, a Financial Conduct Authority report, Karim and Timova, 2021, in the UK highlighted that, within the investigated sample, the reasons crypto users hold cryptos are mainly twofold: gambling, speculation, and diversification of a broader investment portfolio. In the same way, it is often argued that Bitcoin, BTC, cannot function as money primarily because it is subject to severe value fluctuations, Fig. 3. For example, between July and November 2021, the USD value of Bitcoin doubled, from about 31,000 to 64,000. Finally, Umlauf, 2018, pointed out that cryptos fail to be money since they lack an intrinsic value, failing under the commodity theory, orthodox approach, and government support, failing under the claim theory, heterodox approach. Here, we try to build possible counterarguments to the points previously provided against Bitcoin as money because we are not interested in what Bitcoin has been so far but in what Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies could potentially be. This paper does not aim to recommend what money should be. We take an undogmatic and possibilistic approach beyond our stand and lack of support for crypto and in light of the most recent evolution of Bitcoin experience in El Salvador, where Bitcoin acquired the status of legal tender in September 2021, and Bitcoin became legal tender in the Central African Republic in April 2022. First, almost globally, the reasons that crypto users keep cryptocurrencies differ from those that lead money users to hold money, however. Two objections exist to this point: the interest in analyzing possible scenarios that might potentially develop, and not the current ones, and the experience in El Salvador, where Bitcoin has been established as a legal tender. Examining El Salvador might shed a different light on the adoption of Bitcoin compared to other countries. For example, Forbes's policy editor highlights that only 29% of the Salvadoran population has a standard bank account, while, just 1 month after the Bitcoin law, 46% of the population downloaded the Chivo Bitcoin app, which enabled them to use Bitcoin. Furthermore, by October 2021, transactions reached a daily average of $2 million US in remittance terms, processed through the Chivo wallet, an application launched by the El Salvadorian government. A more detailed survey, such as the one conducted by FCA in the UK, would shed further light on the use and the goal of Bitcoin by Salvadoran citizens. Unfortunately, this is unavailable. Second, it is also true that Bitcoin suffered enormous volatility episodes in its brief history, which might characterize it as an unappealing instrument for maintaining wealth. However, this is also true of other currencies, such as VES, that dramatically lost value in a relatively short period, as described in the previous section. Other examples include the Uruguayan peso, UYU, and the Brazilian real, BRL. The value of the USD against the UYU increased by about 100% between June and September 2002. A similar situation occurred with the BRL at the beginning of 2020. It has to be underlined that the strong volatility, ups and down, of a currency and its continuous depreciation are different phenomena. However, even when either of those scenarios seriously destabilize the trust in those currencies, reducing their performance as money at an international level, they never stopped functioning as money inside those countries as their respective governments have continued to request citizens to pay taxes through them, and citizens have continued to hold those currencies to pay taxes. Third, Umlauf, 2018, considers that cryptos fail to be considered in the category of money from the orthodox point of view since they lack any intrinsic value. It is argued that while the intrinsic value of gold enabled it to spread and emerge naturally in many societies, Fey stones, lacking intrinsic value, survived and consolidated as currency in Yap Island due to two factors: the institutional support and enforcement by the island chiefs and the link between their value and their production cost based on the quarrying activity. Since cryptocurrencies fail to replicate those features, with a value detached from its cost of production and lack of institutional support, Bitcoin would be unable to develop and consolidate as money. The impossibility of instituting money without any use value and government support caused Fey currencies to demise and led the stones to become a curiosity in the history of money. In particular, Umlaut considered the following. Similar to the labor theory of value, which posits that value is a function of the labor required to produce a good or service, market participants appear to be misled into believing that the value of cryptocurrencies is the product of the input costs required in the mining process. A fundamental misunderstanding, in our view, which we term the input fallacy of value, IFV. Concerning the last point, we claim that this argument is incorrect or no longer valid from 2 points of view. Regarding Bitcoin, we argue that market participants have not suffered from a perception error, namely, the IFV claimed by Umlaut, at least not since 2020. Far from being the main price driver, the Bitcoin cost of production has been relatively detached from their price, see Fig. 7 below, which has been driven by something else. Furthermore, Mike Bryan, the previous ex-vice president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, argued that the feature that led to the demise of the Fey in Yap Island was not the lack of intrinsic value but their inconvenient or entire lack of portability or divisibility. Perhaps the most relevant argument against Bitcoin as a potential money instrument comes from analyzing the recent evolution in El Salvador. We tend to question Umlaut, 2018, concerning the institutionalization side, according to which, by lacking government support, cryptocurrencies would fail to be considered money. He argued that the acceptability of cryptos at pay offices would be opposed to the state's self-interest and, therefore, highly improbable. Thus, crypto would also lack the institutional support as the founding principle to be considered money according to the Chartist school of money. Umlaut, 2018, stated, by cryptocurrencies' lack of intrinsic value as well as government support, virtual currencies fail according to the orthodox as well as the heterodox school of money, respectively. If the lack of institutional support was true until September 2021, the El Salvador government went precisely in the opposite direction predicted by Umlaut, approving the Bitcoin Law, 2021, through which Bitcoin officially became a legal tender alongside the USD, which was established as legal tender in 2001. Several reasons led El Salvador to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. According to Cesarato and Febrero, 2022, cryptocurrencies' alleged advantages, stablecoins in particular, include lower costs for financial transactions, especially in cross-border payments, and greater financial inclusion thanks to their easier accessibility. Sandra Aro, CEO of the Global Blockchain Business Council, supports the usefulness of crypto for micropayments and microloans within a frictionless, low-cost, fast execution system. A PricewaterhouseCoopers report suggests the reasons that might have led El Salvador to adopt Bitcoin. First, increased efficiency in transferring international remittances. The report highlighted how more than a fifth, or more than a fourth, according to the IMF, 2022, of El Salvador's GDP comes from remittances. The associated high costs of the remittance transfers, up to 30% minus 50% of the value of the transfers, could constitute a valid incentive to find an alternative instrument for international transfers beyond the timing costs associated with the transfers and collection of physical money. A second reason is represented by the willingness of the government to provide easier access to financial services for the citizens, especially considering that about 70% of the El Salvador population does have a bank account. The last reason might be linked to El Salvador's desire to reduce the reliance upon the USD as their only legal currency. Finally, it is interesting to notice how El Salvador's government has accepted and promoted the use of Bitcoin through two main instruments. The first is represented by training the population in using and paying transactions in Bitcoin, with no fee, through the Chivo wallet application. The second instrument the El Salvador government provided is the Pig Push incentive to download the application. Alvarez et al. 2022 indicated that the government provided a $30 bonus in Bitcoin to citizens who downloaded the Chivo app as an incentive to adopt Bitcoin, along with discounts for gas expenditures. In this way, contrary to Umlaut 2018, the El Salvador experiment shows that Bitcoin obtained institutional support from the government as acceptable for paying taxes at public offices. In that sense, NAP 1924, p. stated that, "The money of a state is not what is of compulsory general acceptance, but what is accepted at the public pay offices," or in a similar vein, money is a creature of law. Finally, Keene 2015, suggested how Graziani pointed out three primary conditions for something to be called money inside a monetary economy. A. Money must be a token currency, otherwise, it would give rise to barter and not to monetary exchanges. B. Money must be accepted as a means of final settlement of the transaction, otherwise, it would be credit and not money. C. Money must not grant privileges of seigniorage to any agent making a payment. Beyond summarizing the crucial properties of the different monetary instruments individually considered, Table 1 helps to grasp a broader point, namely, the common key properties that all the monetary instruments embody to emerge and establish themselves as money, as well as the properties that are not shared by them, indicating, that way, criteria that can be considered not essential. First, it is possible to observe that the three functions underlined in our previous section, unit of account, means of payment, and store of value, wealth, are all embodied in gold, face stones, fiat money with a stable value, USD and EUR, and an unstable value, VES. Even if VES instability played a role in influencing its use more at an international level, and its position in the hierarchy of money, such instability did not invalidate its ability to function as money at a national level and maintain use by citizens to pay taxes to the government. Conversely, the intrinsic value does not seem to have been a crucial factor shared by the instruments under investigation. The example of face stones is significant as a form of money not reliant on and completely detached from any particular use value, spiritual, or ornamental function. Finally, the crucial common feature that all the instruments under investigation share are state acceptance, which allows all of them to be used to settle debts through tax payment. Therefore, the previous analysis supports the claim theory underlying the state's key role, or other collective institutions, to decree some instruments as money to denominate enforceable debt obligations and impose taxes. In light of the previous considerations, we argue that, while in most countries Bitcoin does not represent money, if a country accepts Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies as legal tender as a way of extinguishing taxes and debts from citizens and makes their acceptance compulsory to settle debts between private entities, cryptocurrencies should be included in the money spectrum. Furthermore, Cesarato and Febrero, 2022, recognize that private digital currencies constitute a new unit of account, can be used to settle debts, and can be used as a store of value. Thus, they represent a threat to our monetary and payment system. Conversely, we also argue that it is necessary to consider a further factor for the sustainability of an instrument such as Bitcoin in the money spectrum whenever such an instrument is not the only legal tender accepted by a country's government. This point is discussed in the subsequent section.
Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel. Economic and financial issues are very important. See you in the next video.